This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
It is 6:08 at WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast, and WSTU, Martin County's heritage station, serving Martin County and the Treasure Coast since 1954. Were you born yet?
Close.
Close.
Not quite.
Oh, and here's Mr. Tom Kindred.
Thank you, sir. And welcome to another segment and installment of Small Biz Florida, the broadcast and podcast. It's all things business across the Treasure Coast and the entire state of Florida. Small Biz Florida is brought to you by the Florida Small Business Development Center Network and is produced by the Florida SBDC at Indian River State College. Small Biz Florida is designed and produced to highlight and promote business assistance resources, celebrate entrepreneurial success, present best practices, and most importantly, provide timely business information for Florida's small business community. I am Tom Kindred, your host and former small business owner and operator. And beyond my hosting duties here, I serve as the regional director for the Florida SBDC at IRSC. So, Greg, how are you this evening?
Oh, wonderful.
So that's right. I understand you got back into town last night around 2:00 after
Big win.
After a big win. You were on the team bus,
Florida Southwestern, and we beat them 2 out of 3 this year. And of course, they're nationally ranked 15th in the country. And actually, we're 20. I think we're 22 this year.
Well, you were telling me today, as we were talking a little earlier, that kind of give us the whole rundown. Men's, women's baseball is in the top in the state and attending tournaments. I saw something. Our volleyball team is in the tournament,
and they won their first game.
They won the first game.
They won their first, and then they'll go on tomorrow. And this is a state tournament. The ladies basketball team is in first place in the Southern Conference.
Wow.
As the men are now with the big win last night. So it's crazy. We're going to Niceville, wherever that is.
Are you really? Is the team? Is that where they go? Is that where the tournament is?
Yes. Yeah.
Nashville.
No, Niceville.
Oh, Niceville.
Florida Northwestern State.
Okay.
And it's a gorgeous arena. It's the Raider Arena, and it was named after a very famous World War II hero, the Raiders.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Actually, there's a World War II museum in the upper part of that arena. And if you're into World War II history, that was Jimmy Doolittle's Raiders.
I've been to Niceville a couple of times,
well,
but I don't think I've ever been in that arena.
You've got to stop by and see that museum. It is awesome.
And the school is Florida Southwestern?
Northwestern.
Florida Northwestern.
Northwest Florida State.
Northwest Florida State.
Right near Pensacola.
Right.
Yeah. It's you would never know it. It's a fascinating thing. I mean, it's probably shouldn't even say this, but FEMA paid for the arena. And I know I probably shouldn't say this.
I probably shouldn't be saying that.
But as it turned out, the athletic director said, this is what we'd like to do. And FEMA says, we're going to put a Western Florida headquarters next door.
Right.
But if you put a concrete roof or a steel roof on this building, we can turn it into a shelter, which they use during the hurricanes.
Nice.
So it's like, oh yeah, it's an amazing place.
Now, what's the other big state college that's up in the Panhandle that has the beautiful facilities?
That Chipola's
Chipola.
And,
Yeah.
Oh,
why is it that the Panhandle has all those incredible facilities? And Wonder why that is.
Rich ranchers,
Oh.
which is what our guest is going to talk about. All out in Indian Town. All these gazillionaires
That's right.
hiding in Indian Town.
Speaking of our guests this evening, we'll move from sports. Speaking of our guests, we've got our very good friend who we have worked with very closely. He and his teammates with the Martin County Business Development Board, the BDB, down in Martin County. Joan Goodrich, who is the executive director. And tonight we've got our good friend James Carroll, who serves as the Economic Development Coordinator for the Business Development Board of Martin County. Welcome this evening, James. How are you this evening?
Good evening, Tom. I'm fine. How are you?
I am good. Lots of things going on in Martin County. You guys really have, since you and Joan and your team kind of came in a couple of years ago, you guys have really kind of taken the BDB to a whole new level, and lots of involvement, lots of engagement in the community, lots of leadership, lots of programs, new innovative ideas. I know whenever I get a call or email from James or Joan, I know I'm about ready to be challenged to do some good work and some innovative work. So we've appreciated the partnership, James, and look forward to our conversation this evening. But why don't you start us with just a little information about your background and your pathway to the BDB?
Sure. I appreciate the time and thank you for having me. So it's a good story. It's a blend. So I grew up in Martin County in Stewart until I was about 16 years old. And then the family said, we're heading to the Northeast. And I said, why? And my dad said, be quiet. And then we headed to the Northeast. And so that was quite the change. As a 16-year-old coming from Stewart, Florida, used to skateboarding, being at the beach, etc., moving to New Hampshire. So we went to Hanover, New Hampshire, home of Dartmouth College, right? And so that first year or so was very interesting to be a 17-year-old kid there and not know how to deal with your first winter. Long story short, I learned to really appreciate and admire the solace and peace and quiet of New Hampshire. It's a beautiful state. And then from there, graduated high school, went to college at Keene State College, a smaller school, about 5,000 students, studied political science, sociology, and elementary education. It was a blended major, so it was a good blend. And then, started my career up there at the nonprofits. Started with Big Brothers Big Sisters, was the first real gig I had doing fundraising for them. And much like anything, I think people can relate to this with business development. You don't ever kind of seek out business development. It kind of falls into your lap. So I remember when I started looking for real jobs, right? Parents said, get a job. We paid for college for you. Figure out what you're going to do. I remember thinking, all right, well, I'll start applying at places. I was a big for Big Brothers Big Sisters. So I naturally applied there. And they said, well, you won't like the enrollment side of things. You'll like fundraising. You talk a lot. We can have you do fundraising. So that's kind of how it got into fundraising. And that. So I stayed at Big Brothers Big Sisters for a bit, and then I got picked up by a political nonprofit, et cetera, and just kind of honed my teeth in those kind of nonprofits, fundraising, business development, public relations, and then stayed in there for a few years. And I've been back in South Florida for about 3 years on my own now. And when I first came down before the Business Development Board, I was at the Hope Sound Chamber of Commerce. So kind of just a grab bag of the business world and various different positions within it.
Wow, your Hope Sound Chamber of Commerce is very aggressive.
In what way?
No, I love working with those folks. They're great. They have so many events. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was a real treat. And I remember when I was thinking about that job, I didn't even know really what a Chamber of Commerce was. When I first heard that, someone said, you should apply at the Chamber. I said, what do they really do? And I didn't know. And I was lucky to meet Angela. She was there at the time leading the charge. And that was really a great way to get to know the area and really immerse myself within the business people here in Martin County. It was a real treat. And I think this is the next natural progression at the Business Development Board.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about, you talk about, that you didn't really understand what a chamber, does. And I'm sure out there in the marketplace, there is some probably, I hate to use the word confusion, but we've got chambers, we've got EDCs, we've got BDBs. Now, for those of us that are kind of in the circle, we sort of refer to all of this as EDOs, and which stands for Economic Development Organization. So we kind of lump them all as EDOs, but kind of talk to us about the differences between, what you do at a BDB and then kind of the chamber. And there's lots of, unlike St. Lucie County, I think Martin County, has at least half a dozen chambers, but really every county only has one BDB EDO type organization. Talk a little bit about the differences there.
Sure. So, Tom, so Martin County has 5 chambers of commerce. So you have the Palm City, Indiantown, Jensen Beach Chamber, Stuart Martin Chamber, and then Hope Sound Chamber. So it's those 5 chambers for quite a small area. We have about 500,000 plus residents. So to have 5 chambers in the economic council, right? And then the BDB, it is easy to get confused as to what's going on, who does what. So let me provide a little insight on that. So the chambers, I think I view the role of the chambers as the chambers are beautiful, and the way they have really help out small business is, a lot of people join the chambers for the networking purposes, for the exposure, to talk to fellow businesses. And most of the people who join the chambers, I'll say some are new, who come in and say, oh, I want to really become ingrained in this community. A lot of folks within the chambers also have been here for some time, and they really built some morale. And the chambers are very good about making sure, keeping the closeness together of those folks, putting on events so that people can help. They do a lot of business to business type stuff. The separation where the BDB, what we're here to do is help people who may already be here, as I said, kind of grow if they want to expand or they want to, explore other options within the area. We're there to help them in any way, shape, or form. We're also here to help people who say, I'm looking at Martin County. How can you guys help me get there? We can help with site assistance, business intelligence and market research, helping with project management. We can also help with key introductions to leaders in the community. So we kind of take the holding the hand approach for businesses, whether they're here or they're thinking about coming here, moving to that next step. So I think both serve an excellent purpose. And like I said, the chambers are there of let's keep this morale, let's talk and introduce each other, where the BDB kind of takes it and helps you to move to that next step, or helps welcome people and then keep fellow businesses here. Does that help, Tom?
Yeah, no. In fact, I think that may very well be the best description and differentiation statement that I've ever heard between a chamber and kind of an EDO. I really like, kind of drilling down into, I love some of the things you talked about. I mean, site selection, project management, kind of, again, break those down a little bit, because that is so important for people to really understand, especially new businesses coming to the area,
Sure.
People relocating, that, their Economic Development Council and their BDB in Martin County, these are truly very powerful assistance programs that they need to be leveraging.
Yeah, so some of the neat stuff we do, for instance, if a business is thinking about coming to Martin County, they can come through and drive around themselves, which many do, but there may be further questions behind that. And I've learned, and I think one of the neatest things we do is people will call us and say, this is my business. We're in another county right now. We're looking for, say, 20,000 square feet of industrial. This is the kind of talent pipeline we need. And can you guys help us with this? So then we take that information. We can help you, like I said, with site selection. We have access to great databases, and we kind of condense it in an easy to read format to help them kind of be able to comb through it in a simpler manner.
Okay.
And
nice.
So I think that's one of the neat things we do. Like I said, the talent thing is huge. That's always the biggest concern of any small business or any business is employees. That's the biggest gripe. Anyone will tell you, hey, I need this, or I'm having trouble finding talent. So we can help with that aspect as well. There's just a lot of services we do offer. And then to conclude, some of the simpler things, we get calls each and every day, people asking, do you think this zoning would work here? How do I help resolve a mail issue we have? How do we get our own mailbox right at our company headquarters instead of having to make the trip to the post office each and every day? There's a lot of little things that go into it. They're not all huge announcements, but day in, day out, we're there helping with some of the minutia of business.
Yeah, and you said something too about market research and analysis. I mean, you can actually help a business understand the demographics of Martin County and the different areas, and so is that part of what you do too?
Absolutely. And, it can get, and this is something I'm learning. You can even drill down with some of these reports to even tell people about the traffic amounts that pass in a certain area. You can tell
Traffic
people
counts, yeah.
that's really neat intel for a company before they consider moving to a certain area. You can tell people about, Palm City may be better for this, or Indiantown may be more rural and you maybe have a little land more out there. And this will be the traffic count. This is the demographics. All that information is huge when deciding to move into operation here.
Tell us, James, kind of give us an overview of the current market situation in Martin County. Of course, we've all obviously kind of little light at the end of the tunnel from COVID. Martin County over the years has kind of gone through its different cycles. There was a time when, there was a little bit of a, anti-growth movement, and then things seemed to open up a little bit. Then there was some movement with growth, and kind of where are we in Martin County today in terms of economic development and growth and recruiting new businesses and helping those that are there expand and grow.
I think, like we said, we know 2020 was a strange time for everyone involved, and we can play. Yeah, that goes without saying. Let's not get down that hole. But like I said, overall, we've seen, interest in Martin County throughout the past year and a half. When we speak to our partners at the county and growth management, things like that, we've seen that people are still very interested in Martin County. That phone is ringing, and a lot of calls are, I need industrial, I want industrial space, right? That's been a really big thing lately for folks. People are becoming more and more interested about Indiantown and what it has to offer. One of the most interesting things I think we'll see come out of this altogether is, and this is the question, what happens to a lot of the office space? And that can be asked about anywhere in the country. What happens to this office space? More and more people have gone remote, and people say, do I really need the overhead to have to keep these big office spaces? So we're talking to the realtors about that, about all this office space. Some other interesting things is people are still interested in Martin County. Florida as a whole, is what do they say? 1,000 people move here each and every day.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of people who are, like I said, leaving the southern part of the state and working their way up to Martin County. That's a different discussion on how some people may feel about that. But overall, I think Martin County's economy is strong. We did see some, it took some hits on the hospitality side of things and hotels, heads in beds. Really, that was really a big thing. I think you'll see that come roaring back. I've traveled quite a bit around the state, and you'll see some of the pent-up demand is really starting to surface. I've seen people saying they've been to Orlando, and it is absolutely jumping. So I don't worry about the demand.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I think things will come back quickly when folks feel comfortable in traveling. And Martin County really has some incredible assets. I mean, just as all the coastal communities do, Indian River, St. Lucie, Martin. I mean, we've got waterfront, we've got downtown waterfront. We've got beautiful beaches, we've got resorts. So, Martin County, just like St. Lucie and Indian River, very desirable places to move, and really desirable places to relocate your business. And you talked about it early on. I mean, you lived up north. That really is still, I guess, our greatest selling point is it's really a great place to live in terms of weather and accommodations. So I think that's always going to be a big plus for us in our marketplace, no matter really what happens through the economy.
Definitely. Yeah. I think, like I said, I think you're going to see, a lot more people. And that number has always baffled me, Tom, about 1,000 people moving here each and every day. As a young man, I always, what hits me is, wow. So if we keep up that pace, what does it look like in 5 years? Is there enough employment for folks to, so these are all interesting questions, but this has been an ongoing theme well before I got involved. This isn't the obsession.
The other thing I've always really appreciated about you and Joan and your team at the Martin County BDB is you guys really have been great programmers. From really the time Joan kind of took over the reins at the BDB, as with anyone, she kind of got to know the lay of the land. But once she did, she really took it upon herself to get out, engage, create programs. You guys have done some really great programs over the years, brought together groups. I was recently in a program that you conducted there on the IRSC campus, the Chastain campus.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are constantly engaging and getting out there. And one of the programs that you really have taken a lead role with is what we started many years ago called the Business Accelerator Program,
Sure.
the BAP program in Martin County. Talk a little bit about your take on the BAP program and what it really means and what you guys are trying to accomplish with that program.
Sure. And to your point, yeah, we've been really trying to be out there and be public. COVID had forced us to rethink some of the things we do. I always believe in the power of a public facing effort. So I don't believe you can hang out in the office all day and business development isn't done from behind a desk. So this really forced us 2020 to get clever with webinars. We did a video series with 18 different businesses in Martin County to help them promote themselves and produce an edited video for them to use as they see fit. So I'm very proud of some of the things we've done. Now, as far as the BAT program, yeah, this has really taken off and grown legs. And as you know, it's in its 6th year. And you know, it's a partnership between IRSC, FSBDC, and the BDB. I know it's alphabet soup for everyone, and I know it's annoying.
Yeah, and we're going to get it started ASAP. So.
Yeah,
say that 5 times fast.
Right, I know. This is so to that point though, it's now in its 6th year, Tom, as you know. I pulled the numbers and the history of it. You know, over 125 businesses have gone through it in that time. And I think it's really something special. And what I looked at when I started to look at it and dig a little deeper into it, I thought, man, we have all these people that have gone through it. Do we still stay in touch with these folks? Do we kind of build, you know, like alumni when your college calls and says, come to the reunion and all that? I said, do we really stay in touch with these people? And it seemed that we, you know, once in a while we'd say hello or something like that. But I thought there's a real power to bring these people back together to talk. And we can use it as a marketing material for the next class and the next class. This is great. So we've really rethought the Business Accelerator program in many ways, but one of the most exciting ways is now when we give the check, remember people are eligible for the $5,000 grant. There's the pitch event at the conclusion of the 10-week course. I thought, why don't we bring the big check, we bring a camera and we have them give a testimonial on camera about what the program did for them. We can take a photo with the people. We're going to start once COVID stops, we're going to have a, kind of a yearly get together where all the BAP alumni get together. So I think that'll be really something special. And I think this just builds the morale and it builds kind of a network for people to lean on each other because it really is. It's an impressive program. As you know, you teach some of the classes, isn't that right?
Yes, I do. I teach one of the classes and,
okay.
You know, through the years, we've always had, seasoned and experienced business folks on the show with us. And one of my favorite questions to always ask those types of experienced business folks is, you know, you've had all this experience, you've been years, owning and operating a business. Why would someone like you want to be engaged with a consulting agency? Why would an individual like you want to take a class or a course? And, you know, it always impresses me that the really savvy, entrepreneurs and savvy business folks always say, listen, you're never done learning in business. And there's always an opportunity to go back and better your skills and learn. And you talked about networking, learn from others. And so I'm always impressed when those people say, you know, I don't know everything just because I've had years of experience. I don't know everything. And there's things that I can learn. So it is the kind of program that someone who is a startup, beginning a business can attend, but it's also the kind of program that someone with a lot of experience can also attend and benefit from.
Absolutely. And if we were to look at some of the quotes from some of the individuals, I mean, I go through the list sometimes, and some of the people that have been through it, you know, like you just said, very well established in there, and they've been at this 30 years. This isn't my first rodeo, but some of the quotes relate to this experience, and they say, you know, I found myself working in my business instead of on my business, or right. I can always brush up. I thought that's a great quote, or I thought I could brush up. And some people view it with skepticism at first, who say, I've been doing this 30 years, I don't need it. And then they go through it and it's a refresher. There's maybe some things you haven't grabbed and things that are now back, you know, when you first started in 2000, it's 2021, a lot has changed. There's some new angles to look at things from. And I think everyone who's gone through it has really gained something from it, in at least one of the classes.
Well, and we've had all of the previous winners on this show. Which started as a startup talk show and has been Small Biz Florida now for a few years.
Yeah.
We just had the one good one is one of our grant winners this year was a gentleman who owned a boating, just recently started a boating company. He had been doing his own type of thing for 25 years prior to that. He went through and said he learned loads. And so it's a testament to how, it's 10 weeks, 3 hours a night, 3 hours, each session. And, before you know it, there's the graduation, which we're going to try to take to the next level. And then the pitch program, which is like a mini Shark Tank. There's a lot to be learned. And I think people enjoy it and being around fellow business people.
Yeah, no, we're always kind of there on the last night together, and it is. Mm-hmm. And like you say too, I've never really talked to anyone who's been through the program that doesn't have something positive to say. I mean, maybe every class wasn't, they didn't take something away from every class or, every evening, but they all have something positive to say about some element of the program. And really, I've never had anyone ever say that it wasn't well worth the time. And,
right.
And, having been a small business owner and operator for many years, I know how tough it is to work the whole day, to engage in that battle, and then think, oh man, I got to go to a 3-hour class tonight. It would be so easy to say, you know what, I'm just too tired tonight. But I really do applaud those that come and participate. And you said it best. And what I try to tell folks all the time is that when you're a business owner, there is time that you have to work in the business, but you have got to dedicate some time to working on the business. And it was a textbook mistake of mine. I didn't have the kind of mentorship or guidance that we're able to provide folks through the SBDC to really understand that concept that you have to take time away from working in that business and work on the business. Think about strategic planning. Think about where we want to be in 3 to 5 years. Drill down into your financials. Are we making the kind of margins we should make? What is our cash flow really looking like? So that's, I think, what a lot of folks, understand when they go through a program like this is that there is a time to stop and reflect on the business.
And what's fascinating about it as well is you can go through we talked about the classes themselves, and they cover various different topics from the legal aspect of things, dealing with customers and people's attitudes. There's just a whole smorgasbord of different things. And over the years we've done it, we've awarded over 80K in grants, right? So everyone, at the end is eligible to participate in the pitch event if they wish and all that sort of stuff. And so I think that's a big thing to keep in mind, but that's kind of the icing on the cake. Is the pitch event. But again, that's not the only thing you should look forward to. The classes are really the meat and potatoes, right? And then the pitch event is something you may or may not want to participate in as well. But a lot of people love doing that and honing their elevator pitch, if you will.
So tell us, how does one find out more about we've got an upcoming BAT program, correct? There's a new cohort going to start. How does one find out and how do they get involved in that BAT program?
Sure. So, first, the newest one starts April 5th. We'll get it rolling. And so the best way, if you wanted to sign up, obviously you head over to bdbmc.org and you'll see right there's an option for programs. You can hit that drop down and you'll find, it will be right at the top and we'll say BAT registration. It's on our website. If anyone has any direct questions for it, I'm available anytime, james@bdbmc.org. We have people signing up already, so there's still space available. And we love to have more of them in there. The more the merrier with this and the more interesting ideas they can bounce off each other. And like you said, it's just a $25 registration fee for these 10 courses. It's peanuts.
Peanuts for all that training and hours of. Yep. Yeah. And you get to spend one of those evenings with me.
The real prize. Yeah, the real prize. The dreamy hour.
That's right. Yeah. All right. James, I want you to stay in there with us. We're going to take a quick break.
Sure.
And we are going to come back and continue our conversation here on Small Biz Florida. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. This is Small Biz Florida from the Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute here at Indian River State College. I am Tom Kindred, and I serve as the Regional Director for the Florida Small Business Development Center here at IRSC. And for those of you just joining us, we had a great conversation with our good friend, James Carroll, who serves with the Martin County Economic Development Coordinator, as the Economic Development Coordinator with the Business Development Board of Martin County. And now I want to introduce, it's so important. We have some great partners and groups that we collaborate with here at the Florida SBDC, just like James and the Martin County BDB, our local St. Lucie County EDC, SCORE, and one of those outstanding partners that we work with and have the privilege of working with is the Women's Business Center, weVenture, which is located up in Brevard County, which is where their headquarters, but they serve portions of the Treasure Coast. And I am pleased to have with us tonight Miss Amber Batchelor. Welcome to Small Biz Florida, Amber.
Tom, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And it was great to listen to your conversation earlier about Martin County. I learned a lot.
Yes. And Amber, we've been planning on having you on the show for a while. So I'm glad we finally got our calendars coordinated and got you on the show. I mean, what you do at weVenture is incredible. It's an incredible center. Again, as I mentioned earlier, really a very powerful resource. Specifically kind of for women-owned businesses, but not just for women-owned businesses, all kinds of programs and activity and support going on. But I'll let you talk about it, but start us with, I guess, a little background on you and kind of your pathway to weVenture.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for that opportunity. I have definitely a passion for small business. With my background in business administration, I took an untraditional route to support businesses, and that was through industrial engineering right out of college. It really helped me to appreciate the mechanics, the processes of supply chain operations and export and import and logistics and the numbers. And so ultimately what we did was we turned that interest into how do we do this for clients. I was at a very large corporation. And ultimately, really came down to, Tom, I didn't want to be in a sales environment. I wanted to work in a nonprofit space where it didn't matter if someone had the dollars to work with you in order to get your services. So it was a great opportunity for me to transition and work more in the chamber space. I worked more with Chambers of Commerce in Northern Virginia. And that also afforded me, before that, the opportunity to work on Capitol Hill to understand the advocacy and policy behind what it takes to run a business and what a municipality needs in order to support the business community. So with all of that bundled up, I ultimately came down here to Florida to support a local chamber of commerce, and the pandemic hit, and it afforded me an opportunity to transition into a more of a true economic frontline supporter role with weVenture Women's Business Center at Florida Tech College of Business. And that's how I got here today to meet you.
Yes, great story, great experience. So tell us again about weVenture. How is it structured? Goals, missions. You talked about where you're kind of housed at Florida Tech. So give us kind of the overview of weVenture.
Absolutely. So weVenture. So we started in 2007. We are a program funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the Small Business Administration, much like our partners like UTOM and SBDC. So We're fortunate enough to work under that big, beautiful umbrella of the Office of Entrepreneurial Development. And then the Women's Business Ownership Act 1988 afforded the opportunity for women's business center programs to be created under the federal government with the oversight of the SBA. So ultimately, that's who we report into is the Office of Women's Business Ownership. And we serve Brevard, Indian River, and St. Lucie counties. And our focus is to, ignite the power of women and all entrepreneurs to really make sure they are achieving their highest success. And for every entrepreneur, as you know, that looks different. So we focus on providing no and low-cost support services, one-on-one counseling, business coaching, and mentoring, leadership development for those emerging women, female leaders, as well as support for talent development with some of our larger corporate partners.
Talk to us a little bit about maybe some of the unique challenges, but there also may be some, advantages through potential government contracting and set asides. So talk a little bit about that space of women-owned businesses.
Oh, sure. So we just went through a really nice series for GovCon, for government contracting, helping entrepreneurs and established business owners appreciate exactly that, Tom, those set-aside dollars. So what it means to be a certified woman-owned business. A lot of times you'll talk to a female entrepreneur and they're like, yes, I'm a lady, I'm in business, I'm a woman, I'm in business. And then you say, great, are you certified? And then they're like, well, what does that mean? So simply what it means is that you literally get a certificate from the federal government or from your local or state government that says that you've gone through the process, you've put in the paperwork, put in the legwork to, one, prove that you are truly owned, controlled, operated by a 51% entity that is woman-owned. And that provides the benefit of set-asides. Set-asides are dollars that are specifically, or contracts that are specifically set aside for those entities that have been certified to say, yes, I'm owned, operated by a woman. And that came about for supplier diversity opportunity with the federal government years ago. And this was not just afforded to women, but also for those that are economically disadvantaged, minority-owned, veteran-owned. We do support veterans and veteran spouses. And ultimately, the Women's Business Center program was designed through Congress to support those that have been historically underserved or historically excluded. And Tom, that usually falls on women, minorities, veterans, and the spouses of those veterans, and also those that work in rural areas and opportunity zones. So we're really excited to talk more about what it means for contracting, because there is over I think it's $30 trillion opportunity that women entrepreneurs leave on the table every single fiscal year because we just don't know.
Right.
And then some of those barriers to entry is just access to information. So that's what weVenture is trying to capture, is to eliminate some of those barriers to entry.
All right. And then, one of those statistics and one of those stories when you're in this entrepreneurial space that kind of comes up every now and again is the difficulty in women-owned business in accessing capital. Now, again, it's not easy to access capital for any business, but there seems to be additional challenges in particular, markets, and one of those is women-owned businesses and accessing that capital. Is that a fair statement? Is that what you see at weVenture? Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I would say that is beyond fair, as it truly is, because, I mentioned briefly that Women's Business Ownership Act of 1988. So let's take a little trip down memory lane here for a little history for women in entrepreneurship. So that act also opened up the Women's Business Ownership Program and office out of SBA, but more specifically, it really eliminated a lot of the access to capital barriers that we're seeing. So prior to 1988, also I take a step back, the Act of 1988 also birthed HR 5050, so House Resolution Bill HR 5050. So HR 5050 said, finally, on a national scale, we get federal recognition that women entrepreneurs are starting to have a recognizable impact, positive impact to the economy. And women entrepreneurs were having more barriers to entry and with access to capital than their male counterparts. So prior to 1988, a woman entrepreneur had to have a male member of her family sign off as a co-signer in order for her to get a commercial lending agreement. And like 1987, I started a workshop the other day with, where were you in 1987, right? Some of my participants hadn't even been born yet, but others were saying, oh, this is where I was and this is what I was doing. When you got around the table to the woman entrepreneur, she goes, I remember that. I had to have my 17-year-old son sign off for me. He didn't even have a driver's license, but he was able to sign off and say that I was credible because I was his mother. And, just think about, as a woman who, there's stories of architects that were under testimony through the subcommittee, the financial services subcommittee that talks about federal regulations and financial services and coinage, et cetera, that supports the federal government and Congress to make these kind of decisions. And they went through and they did studies for all these agencies, interviewed all these women. And there was a woman architect in San Francisco. I'll never forget reading that story, in San Francisco. And she went in, business plan in hand, very, very savvy and skilled, sat down with the banker, and he said, well, this looks great. So where's your co-signer? So I don't need a co-signer. I have great credit. I have this. I have that. I have the skill set. I got the business plan. I'm ready to go. Well, she wasn't able to get the loan. So this same woman goes to another banker. He has the nerve to walk around the desk, pat her on the head, and say, we don't do that here. So when we talk about women entrepreneurs having challenges with access to capital, it goes deeper than before the pandemic, because we have made so much progress, Tom. We have made so much progress up to 2019 in terms of the access to capital and kind of breaking down stigmas and breaking through glass ceilings, et cetera. And then the pandemic hit. So unfortunately, women were one of the most adversely impacted groups in terms of the pandemic, because a lot of us were not set up with those commercial banking relationships prior to the pandemic. I'll get off my soapbox here in a moment, but so your question just really hits home, because it's still a challenge. 2021 is still a challenge, access to capital, and we're fighting that every day with making sure that our women know the right questions to ask. They have the right educational support and backing before they walk in and sit down with a lender.
Amber, those stories are mortifying.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think, when I think about James on the show tonight, and I think about you on the show tonight, and I think about our other partners, I think about SCORE, I do have to really, say to folks that the resources are out there to help. Whether it be, women owned, minority owned, veteran owned, or just, any small business, there are an awful lot of resources out in this marketplace to help. And I can tell you that I was the owner operator of a small business operation, and I had no idea these programs were here. And it's, I look back on it, and of course, my favorite thing to ask my team is, where were you people when I was in business?
Right.
These really are powerful programs, and there's an awful lot of support, and weVenture is just a prime example of that support. Kind of talk to us a little bit about where we are today. We talked to James a little bit, there's a little light at the end of the tunnel. What are you seeing in terms of your marketplace, and what are you seeing in terms with your clients as it relates to the Treasure Coast market?
Absolutely. So, and agreed. And I'll say, so I started a consulting business when I was in college. I was a non-traditional college student, and that my university, my alma mater, was my first official client of record. So I would agree that there are so many opportunities. You're like, where are all these resources? And I still stay in touch with my SCORE mentor from DC today. So Joyce, if you're listening, my husband and I love you because we still stay in touch with her. So absolutely love SCORE, love SBDC. So for us, so what are we seeing? Kind of our path forward, right? So we're seeing an economic boom. So the same boom that we saw after the Great Recession, there essentially was a great recovery in terms of women entrepreneurship. And it was going steady, and we were, closing the gender pay gap and opening more net businesses than our male counterparts every single day. And then, 2020 hit. So what we see is we actually see women being extremely resilient. And that's not anything new for anyone that has a mom, sister, wife, cousin, grandmother, daughter, right? So women are having to be more resilient. Unfortunately, there's always a negative aspect that over 400,000 women are not reentering into the workforce after having been impacted somehow by the pandemic in terms of employment. And unfortunately, our male counterparts are going back to work in higher numbers. So what we're starting to see is what Forbes and Washington Business Journal, et cetera, are calling a she-cession rather than a recession in the economy. We're seeing a she-cession in terms of workforce. So that means for the women's business center, we're seeing an increase in what we call necessity entrepreneurs. So we're seeing these necessity entrepreneurs, so they have to put food on the table, they take care of, make sure child care is covered, et cetera, et cetera. So we're seeing a boom in folks calling and saying, hey, I've had a passion project. We're like, great, let's make that passion project profitable. Talking about St. Lucie, we've started conversations with the chief of police in her office in the city of Fort Pierce. And, one of her victim advocates has said, rather than profitability, let's talk about prosperity. So we are working with women entrepreneurs that are what we call early stage or startups. And we are working very closely with them, and they're doing their business plans, they're getting their EIN filed, they're making sure that they're licensed, bonded, insured, and doing really great marketing sessions to make sure they know how to market themselves, how to start an online business. So we're seeing a rise in e-commerce. We're seeing a rise in a transition to maybe learning and development, teaching as opposed to selling a service or selling a product. So we're seeing essentially all in one, we're seeing a really big business boom for women entrepreneurs, and we're excited to be there to support them.
Before we run out of time, I want to make sure that tell us how we get in touch with weVenture.
Yes, so we are active on social media. So if you just want to check out some of the work that we've been doing, and we've been celebrating Women's History Month 365 days a year since 2007. So you can see some of that. weVenture is our handle. You can call us at 321-674-7007. And also online, weventure.fit.edu. And you can schedule an appointment, and all of our consulting sessions are complimentary and free of charge.
Right. And so I want to make sure I get all these buzzwords, Amber. The she session.
Yes.
And I like the necessity entrepreneur. That's, we saw that after the recession too.
That's right.
Where people they couldn't find a job, so they create a job. So I think that's so timely, the necessity entrepreneurs.
You got it, Tom. You're sharp. Yes.
Yeah.
I know we hang out a little bit more. You'll pick up some more of these isms, but I want to say I did not come up with them. The 2019 State of Women-Owned Business Report from American Express has captured a lot of these terms that we've been throwing around for years.
Well, I think that is an interesting term, and I think you're so right. I think that's where we're headed. I think you're going to see a lot of people look to entrepreneurship, to get back on the road to recovery as we see a little light at the end of the tunnel after this pandemic.
That's exactly right. They sure are. And the best way that you can support a woman entrepreneur or any entrepreneur, just ask the question. You want to go eat somewhere new? Ask if it's woman-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned. When you go online, there's a lot of designations. And lastly, I'll just say we did start a woman-owned business directory for the Space and Treasure Coast. So almost 400 women-owned businesses. So weventure.fit.edu, right-hand side of the page or right in the middle center, click access directory of woman-owned business and support a woman entrepreneur.
All right, Amber, thank you so much for taking time out tonight to talk to us about weVenture and all the great work you're doing in support of women-owned businesses and entrepreneurs, across the Treasure Coast. So we do appreciate your time. Again, thanks to our good friend James Carroll with the Martin County BDB. This is Small Biz Florida. I am Tom Kindred. And you can always check out our website at www.irscbiz.com. And with that, we will talk to you next week on Small Biz Florida.
You have been listening to Small Biz Florida right here on WPSL, Port St. Lucie. Talk of the Treasure Coast, webcaster to the world. And on WSTU, Stewart, Martin County's Heritage Station.